Okay, so again, I want to thank every single teacher and every single woman who gets on every day. I do not have enough hakaras hatov. It has been, I think, life changing for most of us to experience the greatness of women. I know I say it every single day. I'm obsessed with it. So, Keren Miller is a motivational speaker, life coach, Judaic studies, and special education teacher. She is involved in education for over 25 years, teaching girls and women of all ages and backgrounds. She gives shiurim in tefillah, emunah, hashkafa, and parsha. She joined Leva Am's initiative together with Ahavia Halevi in Israel last year and started promoting its goals to the English-speaking community to encourage more unity and Ahavas Israel around the world with daily meditations, shiurim, and unity events. She's from Brooklyn, New York, and recently made Aliyah and lives in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel. She can be reached at WhatsApp. I will share that. I think she's also in one of the groups, and I will share her email. I know that I am late on all the emails that I have to share from this past week, and I will later do that. So I feel very, very privileged and honored. Remember to stay on afterwards. Rebbetzin Yagid will be doing the Tehillim, and Basia will be reading on Shalom, and then Linda will be reading. So I feel very, very honored. Thank you, Keren. Thank you so much from Eretz Yisrael, and we look forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nomi. Thank you all for being here. It's such a privilege to be a part of this amazing, amazing group. I really am honored to be here, and I love coming on and just hearing the inspiration, and really it's so amazing how you women get together every single morning, and you just give such tremendous chizuk to the entire world, really, by what you're doing, by your tefillos. Naomi, you're amazing for, spearheading this and continuing it, even though I know you're very busy right now these days. But I really, really appreciate it, and I think that the world needs this. And this is one of the things I want to talk about today, is the power that we have with our emunah. We have a tremendous, tremendous koach in our emunah, and we as women are privileged to be able to have this tremendous koach of tefillah, emunah, and holding on to that emunah is what's going to keep the world going. And may my words today be a zchut for all of you, and for all the cholim that should have a refuah shlema, including Shimon ben Rivka bat Chasiba, and the cholim that you mentioned before, toch shach olam Yisrael, and it should bring more ahavat Yisrael to the world and bring Yeshuot to everyone, Bezrat Hashem. So I want to talk about this koach of emunah, and really, if we look at the shorish of emunah, I love talking about emunah because it relates to women. Shorish of emunah is the the mother. We have this tremendous koach to be able to serve Hashem and to bring emunah into our world. If we develop this on a daily basis, and if we instill this in ourselves, we're able to give it over to the entire world in everything that we do. So I want to just talk about a little bit where we learn this emunah from. And if we look into the parasha, we know that there's a tremendous, tremendous koach that we get from the avot and the himahot. I would love to see some of you guys, if you could turn on your camera, so I feel like I'm talking to somebody. And if you can, I would love to see you guys. So there's a tremendous, tremendous koach that we have and we gain from the avot and the himahot. And this koach of emunah we see in the parashiot recently that we're reading. Avram Avinu goes on to sacrifice his son, and he takes his son to be taken to the altar. And how could this be? How can Avraham go and take his son to the altar? What's going on here? The one son that Hashem promised from him, with Yitzchak, you're going to have children, you're going to have the ability to bring on an entire nation. What's going on here? How could it be? And we see Avram Avinu's tremendous koach of emunah, being able to withstand test after test, nisayon after nisayon, 10 nisyonot that he faces. And Rabbi Natan tells us that when he reached the Akedah, the nisayon of the Akedah, why was this nisayon so difficult? Because this was the hardest nisayon. This was the crux of all the 10 nisyonot. He says that in a person of Avram's level of righteousness, the challenge wasn't all that great, because to him it seems even simple to think, how could it be? How could it be that he has to sacrifice his son? But yet we know that Avram had this level of emunah, of holding on to this emunah. And so he explains that he understood of Hashem's command. He understood what Hashem wanted from him. Rabbi Natan says that the essence of the nisayon lies in the words that are told to us. As he leads his son towards the altar, he says, stay here by yourselves with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder, ad ko. We're going to go up until this point. And at this point, Abraham was able to remember a conversation, like we said before, that Hashem promised him. Ki ve'yitzchak yikara lecha zera. With Yitzchak, you're going to be called, your offspring is going to be coming from Yitzchak Avinu, right? With this child, you're going to have an offspring. He remembered this haftacha. He remembered this promise that Hashem promised him, that he is going to have continuation of his offspring through Yitzchak. And he held on to that emunah. And now suddenly he's instructed to sacrifice this child. How could it be? How could it be? This was the crux of the challenge. How could the promise of ko yiyeh zaracha, so will be your offspring, how is that going to be fulfilled? It's a question that's asked in the Midrash. When he was told to sacrifice son, Abraham said to his servant, I and the lad will go yonder, ad ko, up until here. The conflict of the two usages, ad ko, this word, ad ko, up until here, had the potential to undermine all of his confirmations of his faith. Up until here, meaning to say that up until here is where he was tested. And this is where he passed the test, that he was willing to sacrifice, he was willing to take his son. He says, I'm obligated to do my part and to walk my son towards the altar. Excuse me. Despite all this, he says, I believe that Hashem will fulfill that which he promised me, the oath that he promised me, that I will be able to have a zera. And we see this tremendous koach of emunah in challenging times. Sarah, his wife, she faced so many challenges, having to move from place to place, having to deal with famine, packing and unpacking. We all know what that's like. I'm sure Naomi can tell us now what's going on with that. And having to deal with all the challenges, even up to the point where, yes, she had to sacrifice her son. How could it be that Sarah held on to this emunah? How could it be with the challenges that she had to face? Well, in this week's parashat Chayei Sarah, we see that Sarah Imenu also was able to withstand these challenges, because we're told, Elu shnei Chayei Sarah. Then we're told, Bat mea, kebat esrim, kebat sheva, she was 100, like 20, like 7. Why doesn't it just say 127? And the Rashi tells us a beautiful, beautiful pshat. 100 like 20, we're told, kulan shavim. They were all equal. All the years were equal. What does that mean? That means that she was able to be dedicated in everything she did with her koach of emunah. No matter how challenging, how difficult it was, at whatever stage of her life, kulan shavim. We're told, what is this shivyon? What is this equal? They were equal. How could it be equal? That Sarah, we're told, she was a role model of midat hishtavut, of being able to equate everything, so to speak, of bringing it all letova. So I saw a beautiful pshat that is brought down by the Balei Musar, or Bnei Irima mentions in her book, that relates to the ladies here. It says she was 100, like she was 20, with her yofi, and 20, like 7, in her mitzvot, that she did not do anything. She wasn't punishable. She didn't sin. So what's 100 like 20, like 7? So 100 is like Mizmor 100 in Tehillim. The Mizmor Kuf that we say is Mizmor LeTodah, like Mizmor Kaf 20, which is Lamnatseach, Mizmor LeDavid, Ya'ancha Hashem beyom tzara, Yesagev Hashem Elokei Yaakov. What's Lamnatseach? Beyom tzara, at the time of tzara, at the time of sorrow. That when she had difficulty and challenges, it was like when she was in gratitude, Mizmor LeTodah, when she was always thanking Hashem for the positive, meaning even in challenging times, she was able to see that they were good. Kulan shavina tova, they're all equal. Isn't that amazing? I thought it was so beautiful. It relates to us here. We're saying the Mizmor 100 every single day, and Mizmor Kaf, and Mizmor Kuf. And here, this is how it relates, that she was able to see the good, even in the challenge, even in the difficulty. And she did have a very difficult life. If we see all the things that were happening in Abraham and Sarah's life, all the Nishmat they had to withstand. And there was so much chesed that they did. And how do we go about doing this? How do we go about emulating Sarah in our daily lives? How do we do this? That when something good happens in our life, of course, we should thank Hashem. Of course, we're in gratitude and we say, thank you, Hashem. But when things don't always go our way, and we all know we have challenging situations, we have nisyonot in our life. And we know a nisayon, actually, what's a nisayon? A test. A nisayon is an opportunity to raise a nes. A nes is a flag. When we raise our flags, what are we saying? Look, Hashem, I'm willing to serve you. I am willing to go through this challenge because I know it's a tova. I know I'm going to grow from this. Can we really say that? Only if we work on our emunah. And this is how we work on our emunah. We learn from the avot and the imahot. And we have to instill this in our lives. We're saying Mizmor LeTodah. But when challenging situations happen, and Rav Arush speaks about this, we also have to be in gratitude, because we don't know how this is going to bring us to the good. Right now, it looks like it's bleak, it's dark, right? Right now, it's not clear. It's very easy to say the chasadim, the kindnesses, all the good things that are happening. It's very easy to say thank you. But the challenge is to have the emunah balelot at night, when things are dark, in exile. When right now we see there's a lot of discord and a lot of disagreement and a lot of negativity in the world, but we have to withstand that by bringing in the positivity and seeing that it's for the good. It's for bringing us to Yeshua, to bringing us closer to the Geulah Bezrat Hashem, bringing us closer to Mashiach Tzidkenu Bezrat Hashem. We're going to see that, but we have to be able to take the good and see that even this challenge and this situation that I'm in, I don't understand it. I don't know what it's for, Hashem, but I know it's ultimately for the good. And this was Sarah Imenu. She saw everything as a vehicle through which to become a better person. And this is how we have to do what we have to do. We have to accept challenges with clarity, with grace. This is the work of us as imahot, as women. We carry this ability in everything that we do, the brachot that we say out loud, our children hear us, and the emunah that we instill in them every single day, telling them stories of tzaddikim, reading the stories of the parashiyot, being able to live that life in our life, and bring that into our daily life. And we actually see this in the Midbar. We're told that the ananei kavod, the clouds of glory, were considered the ima ila'ah. The Arizal tells us the ananei kavod, when the Jewish people were in the Midbar, they were surrounded by clouds of glory that escorted them as they were walking in the Midbar. And they had to hold on to the emunah that wherever they were going to be walking in this desert, they're going to have what they need. They're going to have their protection. This ima ila'ah, this is the Shekhinah, this is Hashem's presence in the form of like an ima, protecting them while they were walking in the Midbar. We're told, Rachmana libaba, that we have to have this Rahmana, the Rachamim of Hashem, is something that we have to work on. The Emunah of understanding that through us, working on this Emunah, we're able to instill this in our family, and we're able to feel the protection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to feel cared for every single day. So we as women have this tremendous koach. And where do we see this? Right when we have the ability to mother, when we give birth, right? When a woman gives birth, she gives birth to this child. In the womb, this child is completely protected. And everything the mother is getting, the child is getting, right? Everything that's happening is coming through the mother to the child. Once the child comes into this world, he cries. Why does he cry? Why is there a bechi? Because it's confusion. All of a sudden he comes to this world, it's not so warm, it's not so pleasant, he's not getting everything he needs right away. Starts crying, right? He starts crying. He's separated from that womb, he's separated from the cocoon, from the beautiful rechem. Rechem is the same lashon as rachmana, rachamim, the mercy. He's separated from that warmth that he was enclosed in. And now he becomes more and more independent. And he therefore starts to cry. And his crying is expressing, so to speak, this independence. So the Chazal tell us, Arizal actually brings down that there's different levels that a person should achieve in this world, just like a baby that's born into the world. There's different levels of mochin de gadlut and mochin de katnut, it's called. And what we need to be working on, what we need to, our goal, our tachlit, our purpose, is to be able to achieve mochin de gadlut, this greatness. How? So we start off that we're like mochin de ibu, we're like an ibu ubal. We're surrounded, we're inside the womb. And then we're able to be mochin de yanika. When we come out, we nurse. The baby nurses from his mother. That shows he's dependent on the mother. And slowly, he becomes a katan. He becomes a youngster. That's mochin de katnut. And he slowly separates and he learns to have more independence and not to be so dependent on the mother. And then he achieves the mochin de gadlut. He gets bigger and he gets older and he's able to develop his individuality. And so what does Chazal tell us? That we have to be like Abraham and Sarah were. They not only left what they sought after, what they wanted in terms of their emunah, in terms of believing that there's one Hashem in the world, they didn't leave it within themselves. They searched for it and they looked for it and then they brought it into the world. It says that Abraham was mekarev et ha'anashim and Sarah was mekarevet the nashim. Abraham went out and he brought the men, was mekarev them, he brought them to believe in the oneness of Hashem. And Sarah believed also. She went and brought the women. And they brought them food and they taught and they did chesed with them. And what was that all about? What was that? It wasn't enough that they had this emunah, the belief in one Hashem, because monotheism was not so pashut in those days. There was a lot of avodat zarah. And Abraham and Sarah broke through that. And they were able to be molich et Hashem, to bring Hashem into the world, so to speak. To bring Hashem into their lives, but it wasn't enough into their lives. It was to bring it to others, to be mekarev others, to believe in that oneness, to believe in the chesed. That someone came, the guest came to their house. What did they tell them? They said, "Thank you so much for the food." They said, "Don't thank us. Thank Hashem. Bless Hashem. We have to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu." And that's how they brought the recognition slowly to the people. And this is our avodah in this world. It's very good that we learn and we read and we hear stories, but how do we bring this into the world? How do we implement this into our daily life? Is it that we have emunah just when things are smooth sailing? Or do we understand that even when the things are not so smooth sailing, when the waves are crashing, when everything is challenging, do we see that also is emunah? That's also believing in Hashem and believing that Hashem wants good for me and believing that I can actually get closer to Hashem through this nisayon. And it wasn't 1 or 2 nisayonot that Avraham and Sarah had to face. It was 10 nisayonot, one after the next. Kulan shavim. They were all equal in Sarah's life. They all were letovah. And Rabbanit Yemima actually says she sort of led like a double life, like it seems like on one hand, she had all these challenges and it was very difficult for her. And how is she going to face these challenges? But she led this double life of, so to speak, bringing this emunah that she had in everything she did, and not sulking and complaining and not looking at the negative, but rather seeing how it's for the good and recognizing and making a conscious decision to be able to be besimcha. That's what emunah is. To understand that, yes, I can also be besimcha, even through the challenge, even through the difficulty. To be busy doing chesed. That's what she was doing. With these challenges, she was continuously doing chesed. And she was entitled to this embitterment, to the complaints. She was going through difficult, life, moving and having to, deal with famine and then taken into the king's house, against her will. And all these things that were happening, like you read it's like a soap opera. But she was able to see it letovah. She was able to move beyond the pain, to be able to create a productive life, to be able to bring a Yitzchak into this world, to be able to have a satisfying life knowing that it's all for the good. And the Ben Ish Chai actually brings a story and tells us that this challenge that women have in the capacity of being able to lead this double life, so to speak, that there was the story of these two Siamese twins. And these Siamese twins were connected. And one of them wanted to get married, and the other didn't want to get married. So they brought them to the Ben Ish Chai. And he told the one who didn't want to get married, they told him to sit down, actually. And he told the one who didn't want to get married, stand up. Stand up. And of course, she couldn't stand up without her sister standing up. And then he told the woman who did want to get married, stand up. And guess what? She pulled herself up, and she got up. And with this, Ben Ish Chai tells us that if a person has a ratzon, if a person really, really has a strong desire to do something, that he's able to achieve it and fulfill it. That she wanted to get married. This is what she wanted. And so every morning he says, we have a choice. Do I want to be productive? Do I want to start my day with a positive note? Wake up and say, Nishmat kochai, mizmor letodah, thank Hashem. Or I'll stay under my covers. I'll just, do my thing. I don't want to do, I don't want to be, I don't want to see, I don't want to hear. I'll sleep a little more. Or do we stand up? Do we stand up, get up, and want to achieve and want to accomplish? That's what the Ben Ish Chai gives us as mashal. Do we want to be able to serve Hashem with this emunah, with this koach? And really, we're told, tzaddik be'emunato yichyeh. How does a tzaddik live? A tzaddik lives be'emunato, with his emunah. That's how he lives. If he takes the challenge, if he takes the difficulty, and he moves on and he goes on forward. And one of the things that, helps us to be able to do this is to work not only on our emunah, but our bitachon. Rabbi Nachman tells us that if a person understands that if he has bitachon, if he trusts in Hashem and trusts that everything that Hashem does, he does letovah, and that everything that Hashem does, he does for him. We know that Hashem created this world, bishvili nivra haolam. Hashem created this world for me. And everything that he does is for me to be able to gain from it on some sort of level. If we look at the world, look outside, look at the trees, look at the grass, look how many flowers there are. Look, the sun's rising. We can look at all these things and we can just appreciate all that Hashem does. So he says a beautiful thing. Hashem makes a kli of shefa, of abundance. Hashem creates a kli, a vessel of abundance. And the person can achieve this abundance, parnasa, sustenance, and goodness, and shefa at the right time. Ba'et ubezman shetzarich, at the time that he needs. How do we learn that? It says in Ashrei, Einei kol elecha yesaberu, v'ata noten lahem et ochlam beito. Einei kol elecha yesaberu, everyone's eyes are looking up to you, Hashem, and that what? You give everybody the sustenance that they need, beito, at the right time. For you, today might be the right time. For another person, this might not be the right time for them. And so maybe they have to keep praying. Maybe they have to work on their emunah. Maybe they have to work on something to be able to achieve it. And if we believe this and we work on this emunah of understanding and bitachon of understanding, that Hashem gives me what I need at the time that I need it. At the time that I need it. I remember hearing the story of a little girl, and she was crying. She was crying to her father. She wanted something. She said, it's not fair. Something, I think something happened that she wanted. It didn't happen. And then she stopped crying. So father asked her, why'd you stop crying? She says, because I realized that this is not the right time. That if Hashem didn't want me to have it now, it's not the right time for me to have it. And I was like, wow. Sometimes kids say things, and she said, if Hashem didn't answer me, it means that he doesn't want me to have it. Not now. So sometimes we learn from things that we hear. We have to take the musar scale. There's a time and place for everything. And I want to mention another aspect of this koach of the emunah that we have. Another aspect of it in terms of how we react in our tefillah, in our every single day. We're told in the Shemona Esrei, it says that we don't say Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. We don't, in the bracha of the Shemona Esrei, we say Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, ve'Elokei Yaakov. And again, this is showing us something. The Tosafot asks, how come we don't say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam? We should end like a bracha. What do we say? We say Elokei Avraham. Why? Because the fact that we say Elokei Avraham shows that Hashem is the Melech and he is Molich et Kol Ha'olam. Through who? Through Avraham. That Avraham had this ability to be able, like we said before, to be Molich et Hashem, to bring Hashem into the world. And therefore we don't need to say Melech HaOlam. Just the fact that we talk about Avraham, when we mention Avraham, shows that he was the one who brought the Malchut into the world. And we know the entire Sefer Bereshit is called Sefer HaYashar. It's called the book of the just because we learn midot. We learn how to be able to bring Hashem into the world through the different acts we see that they do in Sefer Bereshit. All the different things that happen with each one of the avot and the imahot were not stories just to us to just listen to and to hear, and it's so nice, but really to instill in us midot. And we learn from each one of the avot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitaveh letfilatan shel tzadikim. Why were each one of the avot and the imot barren? They couldn't have children. They had to struggle with this because Hashem desires the tefillot of tzadikim. And from here we learn the koach of the tefillah, that we can bring about more emunah and bring Hashem, to be molich Hashem into the world with the koach of tefillah, with the koach of being mefalel Hashem, to be able to talk and say praises of Hashem. And so we see that this is the koach and ability that we have in strengthening our emunah, in being able to carry it on in our tefillah, in our daily life. And one last story to bring this more into into reality. We're told that there's somebody who goes on top of a building and he drops coins. And down at the bottom, this one man sees coins and they're worth a lot of money. He takes the coins and he's so excited and he puts it in his pocket. Doesn't bother looking where this coin came from. He drops another coin. This person on top of the building wants people to notice him. He wants to drop these coins like, hello, look at me, look where I am. And he's dropping another coin, people picking it up. And he's like, what, they don't get the message? Like, look up, like, see where it's from. And then he drops a rock. And then the person's like, ow, where is that coming from? What's going on? And we're told that sometimes when things are going good, okay, we appreciate it. But do we understand where it's coming from? Not necessarily. Maybe yes, maybe no. But when things are going bad, what do? Why that happened to me? Why do I have to suffer? Why do I have to, why do I have to go through this? Hashem, why are you doing this to me? So remember, we have the challenge to be able to see, like Sarai Menu, Hakol Shavina Tova, that even the challenges, even the difficulty, even those rocks, even the challenges that we're facing, we have to try to see them, that they're good, and that we're going to be able to grow from them. And if we work on this through our tefillah, through our emunah, and we instill this in our homes and our children, and we live by this, we bring Hashem into the world, then Bezrat Hashem will be zocheh to the Geulah Shlema, and we'll be zocheh to Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Rachamim. Because in being able to work on this is what Hashem wants. He wants us closer. And right now is the time when we see it, how we have to hold on tight. Tzaddik be'emunato yichyeh. Let's continue to daven, to thank Hashem. Thank you so much for letting me speak here, and give a bracha that everyone should be able to bring this emunah and see the